Well, hello, everybody out there in Facebook land. It's me, Bobby Bowen, with the Bobby Bowen Show. I'm pretty excited because this is the first time I've tried to do it live. So, Doyle Harper will be my guinea pig for the day.
I'm great. I'm grateful to be the guinea pig.
Well, great. How you doing, Brother Doyle?
Brother, I'm doing good. It's good to see you, man, face to face to face.
Yes, it is. Even though we're hundreds of miles apart, we can
Yes,
still be
sir.
face to face right here on the good old computers and the good old internet and the good old Facebook. How
There
about
you
that?
go, buddy. There you go.
My kids laugh at me every time I say your name because when you grow up in Arkansas, you pronounce your name is Doyle Harper, but the way we say it in Arkansas is Dole.
Yeah,
That's how we say it.
believe
And when
believe me,
we,
I've been called a lot worse.
I'm sure you have, and I have too. And when we change the fluid in our car, we call it oil.
Yeah. Hello,
So I
not
know
oil.
you're from Kentucky, right?
I am.
Is that the way you say it in Kentucky?
Oh,
Oh,
that's right.
so they make fun of me by the way I talk. But anyway, it's good to have you on here. It's good to see you, man. You're looking good.
Well, thank you, man. God's been good, man. We're just
You
hanging
sure
in
have.
here.
And I love that shirt you're wearing.
Well, thank you. I have to give my wife credit for the shirt.
You you outdressed me on this one. Of course, you're a pastor, so pastor has to look better than us gospel singers.
Yeah, some of my sheep might be on here tonight.
Well, that's true, and they want to make sure their shepherd looks good, right?
That's right.
Well, Doyle, I've known you for quite a number of years, but I didn't know you when you was a kid. I've only known you in your adult life.
Right.
And what I like to do when I do these shows is to kind of go back and tell something about your childhood, where you were born and raised, and how you got into music, gospel music, and what were your influences as a child or when you grew up, or whatever you want to talk about, man. People want to know. They want to know more than what they see on stage, just the artist up there singing or the pastor preaching. They'd like to know a little bit of the background of them. So if you could start off with that, that'd be awesome.
I'll do it. Bobby, I was born in Beckley, West Virginia, and we actually left Beckley when I was a year and a half old. I'm the oldest of three boys. We left when I was a year and a half old. Coal mines were kind of getting dried up and everything, and so Dad decided to come to Florida. We had some kinfolk down here already. They said, "Come on down here. It's booming down here." And so Dad come down here, and wasn't long after we were here. I want to say I was about 6 or 7 years of age when Daddy found Jesus, and Mom got saved before. Mom got saved before Dad did. About 6 months, she actually read a Billy Graham book and gave her heart to Jesus, and that's what got her started in church. And Dad was a phenomenal piano player. I mean, just never had a lesson in his life. He prayed or he played the piano, and started getting us boys around the piano early on. Now, I was the oldest of the three. We were 6, 7, and 8 when we gathered around the piano for the first time.
Wow.
As the original Harper Brothers. And I'll never forget, we sang "What a Day That Will Be." And my Uncle Eddie lived right around the block, my mom's brother, and here in Jacksonville. And she said, "You got to hear this." So she called him up and held the phone. And he said, "June, I'm only 1 block away. Just hang up. I'm on my way."
And that wasn't a cell phone, was it?
We started singing early on. We went to Nashville when we were 11, 12, and 13 and cut our first LP at Mercury Records there in Nashville.
Yeah.
I had old Bunky Keel was on the piano, who played for Jim Reeves. We had him on the piano. I'll never forget. I got another story about that. I'll just say it for another time. But I started listening to gospel music, to the old gospel singing Jubilee. We would have the gospel singing Jubilee on every Sunday morning when we was getting ready for church.
Me too.
And so I really got intrigued with that 4-part harmony. And I'll never forget, I was about 12 years old, and Mother took us here in Jacksonville to the Civic Auditorium. And on the program that night was the Happy Goodman family, the Florida Boys, the Dixie Echoes, and the Galileans from out of Texas.
Yep.
And I'd never dreamed years later I'd get a call from the Dixie Echoes go singing
Yeah.
tenor. It's just one of those crazy things. But I remember walking out of the auditorium at night and seeing those Silver Eagle buses for the very first time. And I looked at my mother and I said, Mom, I think that's what I want to do when I grow up. And my mother quoted scripture to me. She said, the Bible says, delight thyself in the Lord, and he shall give thee the desires of thine heart.
Yes.
And, Bobby, I actually kind of lost the dream after, teenage years. I started dating, got married early on. And I thought, well, this ain't going to happen. I actually moved to Kentucky, when my dad went to Bible college, actually. In 1979, I moved to Kentucky to be with Mom and Dad up there and work in the church Dad was at. And I was working in the coal mines and kind of giving up the dream of just, going on the road singing. And we was moving an auger off the mountain in Harrogate, Tennessee, actually down around closer to Mount Caryville, Tennessee.
Yeah.
And our company put us up in a hotel. And when I walked in after the day's work, I walked in the hotel room or not in the lobby, and the guy said, "Are you Doyle Harper?" And I said, "Yes, sir." He said, "You got a message here." And I looked at the message, and it was from somebody in Jacksonville, Florida, a friend of mine. And so I called him, and he said, "Hey, man, I just give somebody your name." I said, "For what?" He said, "Well, there was a group at one of our churches here in Jacksonville, and it's a full-time group, and they're looking for a tenor singer. And I told them about you, and they want you to call them." And it was Chris White. He had a group called the Songmen out of Maryville, Tennessee. And so I talked to him on the phone, and they asked me, could I drive down to Clinton, Tennessee, the home of the McCameys. Yep. They had a family restaurant there that had a stage, and they had gospel music, kind of like the Joyful Noise in Atlanta did at one time at East Point. And so I drove down there. It's so funny. I drove down there, didn't know the guys from Adam. You know how it is. And so they just kind of played like right in the middle of the set. Hey, we got somebody visiting tonight with us, and we hear he's a great singer. We're going to let him sing a song for y'all tonight. And I'm thinking, what are they going to sing? So I walk up on the stage, and they're whispering at me, man, what do you want to sing? What are you going to sing? And so I can't remember what we sang, how great they are. He touched me or something, we knew the words on. And so after the concert, Chris said, let's go out the bus and talk. And so we go out the bus. You'll appreciate this story. We go out the bus. My wife's with me, and they had a nice coach and everything, and at this time, now keep in mind, this had been 1982 at this time. They said, listen, all we can afford to pay right now is $250 a week. And my wife looks at me with them eyes like only she could look at me, and I can see in her eyes, this ain't gonna work. And I said, can you give me a little time to think about it? And I was making big money in the coal mines. And so we got my little car, and we're headed back across the mountain. We're about an hour and a half from where we lived in Kentucky over there to Clinton. And she wasn't saying nothing. I wasn't saying nothing. We're getting closer to the house. She finally looked over at me and she said, you really want to do this, don't you? I said, yeah, I really do. She said, well, if you notice what God wants you to do, I don't know how we'll make it, but we'll just trust God. And that's how my music career started, in gospel music,
Man, it's very similar to mine, because I guess I was 11 years old, and I went and saw the Happy Goodman Family and the Inspirations. And Vestal, I'd seen them on the Gospel Jubilee, just like you, I watched it every Sunday morning. And Vestal wasn't with them at that time. Johnny Cook was with them.
Yeah.
And man, when I heard him sing, I thought, I want to be Johnny Cook, man. Oh, wow. He sounded just like Vestal.
I'm telling you.
But he could sing higher than her.
Yeah, he could.
A man could sing higher than a woman. I'd never heard of that before. But and I saw those buses parked back there in the back, and I knew exactly when I saw them on stage and I heard them sing and I saw those buses, I knew exactly that's what I wanted to do when I grew up. And just like that scripture you quoted, God will give you the desires of your heart. And that was my desire. Then I got introduced to the Hensons after that, and I was really, really hooked after that. So I knew exactly what I wanted to do. As soon as I graduated from high school, I knew that I wanted to get on a big old bus and hit the road. And that opportunity came with me about 6 months after I graduated from high school, I got to go with Mid-South boys and get on that big old bus and travel all over the country, and hadn't slowed down since.
Son, one of my all-time favorite groups was Mid-South Boys.
Oh, really?
And I'm not just saying that because I'm on your show tonight. I don't know if Tony Turner ever told you the story. I was with the Dixie Echoes. We parked in Middlesboro, Kentucky. Tony lived in Pineville, 12 miles away.
Actually, Greasy Creek.
Greasy Creek, yeah. I know exactly. I've been to his house before, his mom and daddy's house.
Yep.
But anyway, we were sitting there killing time at the mall like you always do on Sunday afternoon before your date.
Yep.
And he happened to drive by and he seen the bus. We had the name on the side of the bus.
Mm-hmm.
So we heard somebody knocking on the door. And of course, I knew Tony from when I lived up there working at Dad's church. And so he knew I was in the group. So he knocked on the door and I seen who it was. So I went to him and everything. And he said to me, he said, man, this is what I've always wanted to do is, do you know anybody that I might be able to sing with? And I said, I'll keep my ears out. And it wasn't like 2 or 3 days later, I heard you guys looking for somebody. So I told Tony, I said, you need to call Robbie McGee and see if he'd let you come and audition for the group and everything. And so I'm the one to kind of turn Tony on to the Mid-South boys.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. Actually, I interviewed him about a month or so ago, and he told me that story about you, that he knew you back then. And I think Mark Fain had a hand in it too. He was with McCamey's back then, and he knew Tony too. So he called Tony and told him that we were looking for somebody. And so rest is history. Tony came down and got the job. But you said that your first offer was $250 a week.
Yeah.
Back in 82.
Yeah.
Guess what mine was in 83?
Uh-oh. I'm
$20 a date.
Oh my goodness.
Of course, we weren't as big as Dixie Echoes. Actually, what Dixie Echoes was, it was Chris White's
Songman then.
Songman. Yeah. But I mean, $20 a day. If we sang 3 days, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, that's $60 I made.
Use high cotton when you buddy.
If we sang one time, it was $20, but I didn't care. I was single. I didn't have any debt. I didn't have any bills. Carefree. I lived with Robbie and Robbie's brother, Stacy, sang bass with us. And so my rent, my utilities were very small. We lived in a single wide trailer back then. And it's just, that's what.
And, people hear these stories and they say, no way. There is no way. When that bug bites you, and even to this day, I've been next April, I'll be celebrating 30 years in pastoring.
Wow.
And I still got the music bug. I mean, that's why I still go out and I'm doing solo dates. My Harper Brothers group, we're still doing some things, when it's there, it don't leave.
It don't leave. No,
it don't leave. And you're willing to sacrifice all you got, to do it. But I remember you guys at the Quartet Convention in Nashville, and y'all just come out with Sin Met Grace.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh. What a song, man.
Yeah.
You guys killed it, man.
Robbie McGee.
I'm telling you, man.
He's a right fool.
Yeah. But, I've told everybody, and, of course, I ain't got to tell you this. You guys were ahead of your time. I mean, you were the restless hearts of our genre. Mm-hmm. And a lot of folks just couldn't grasp it, but my goodness, there wasn't nobody that was staying toe to toe with you guys on stage, man. It was just killer.
Well, thanks, man. I appreciate that. I've talked to, Kent and Alan O'Neill and Gene Reasoner was White River. Mm-hmm. And, we've talked about those days. And actually, when you go way back, Dixie Melody Boys actually started doing more of a country thing,
Yep, I remember.
Before we did, actually, and then became the DMB band, and they really got really, really country and almost progressive country, more of a pop kind of sound. And they were already an established group. I think I lost you, Doyle. You still there? I lost him. There he is.
Somebody tried to call me.
Oh, okay. Well, you're a pastor. That's the way it goes.
Yeah.
Hope it wasn't anybody on their deathbed or something.
No.
But Yeah, they were actually the ones that really got it kicked off, and we kind of just took it from there when they kind of went too far with it, and kind of they were already an established group in Southern gospel, a quartet, so the people weren't really ready for that
was
sound
not.
back then.
You're right.
But man, we got a lot of people watching right now and making comments, and they're let me see, let me just go through some of them.
All
I'm
right.
gonna say you probably know some of these people. Becky Short.
Becky, I just sung for her out in Missouri, man. Her and her dad, the Davis family. Man, you talk
Cool.
about some precious people that can flat sing, man. Unbelievable.
Awesome. Nicholas Wilkie.
Nicholas
I hope I'm
Wilkie.
saying that right.
Yeah, that's my buddy, Nicholas here.
Yeah. And Tammy Harris Anderson.
She's a precious friend of ours.
And Janie Wallace.
Janie Wallace, member of my church.
Man, you know all of them, don't you?
I know all
these
of
are all
them.
these are all your fans, man. That's cool. Vonnie Strickland.
Yeah,
Howard.
she's ahead of my fan club. Bonnie is.
Yeah, they were trying to figure out how to share this video, and then somebody directed them. I think it was Nicholas. He told them how to do it. And
Good.
so hopefully y'all are sharing it on your Facebook page and getting the word out. And let's see, Nancy Wells.
Yeah, Nancy's another member of my church.
Okay. Robert Apperson.
Yeah.
And Lisa David Smith. That's my buddy.
Yeah, it's old David's. David's a bass singing fool. That's what I've been working on. There's stuff in the studio, man.
Oh, cool. Very cool. Yeah. And, of course, Glenda Mayberry. I know her. She's a good friend of mine. Do you know Glenda?
I don't know if I know her.
She's from around Cape Girardeau, Missouri, around that area.
Okay.
She got saved by listening to one of our songs.
Praise the Lord.
City Lights. Remember
that song? Yeah. What a song.
She worked
I always loved that album cover for City Lights. That was so cool.
She was a big Alabama fan.
Yeah.
Back in the early 80s. Of course, I was too. Yep. Still am. And she's like, man, there's just no gospel music out there that sounds as country as what I like. You know, I like Alabama, that sound. And then we came out with City Lights. And she was hooked, man.
Yeah. Hello.
And she started booking us out there, and we're still great friends to this day. And I'm going to see her next month in Marshville, Missouri, when we do our Mid-South reunion concert out there on the 4th of July. It's going to be really cool. And Eric and Lisa Ammerman, you know Eric Ammerman?
Yep, I do. I do.
He's out in Missouri. I think he still lives in Missouri.
I think, yeah. Last time I talked to him, he was.
Yeah. I'll see him on the 4th, too. And Fonzo Fields.
Yeah, Fonzo's up in Kentucky. That's old Kentucky boy.
Oh, cool. Very cool. And guess who else is watching?
Who's that?
Robbie McGee.
Robbie, I love you, buddy.
Oh, Robbie. That's cool. Glad to have. We were talking about you a minute ago. He probably heard it.
Yeah.
When you say anything bad, that's a good thing.
Thank God.
Yeah. So let's see. Donnie Lewis is on here as well.
Hey, Donnie surprised me, man, about a month ago. He called me and said, man, I'm coming to Jacksonville tomorrow. Meet me for lunch. So me and him got to sit down and eat lunch. We had the ball.
Oh, that's good. Y'all traveled together.
We did with the Trailblazers.
After you went to the Trailblazers. That's right.
Yeah.
You sang tenor. He played drums. Yeah.
He did. Jeremy was on guitar.
Jeremy Metcalf, man.
What a player.
Y'all had a great band, man.
Goodness.
I'm telling you.
I've told everybody, and you'll know what I'm talking about. You remember when the Hensons was going strong, every musician in the auditorium would be backstage watching the Henson band.
Exactly.
When I joined the Trailblazers, the Henson band was backstage and the other players watching the Trailblazer band.
That's cool.
It was so cool, man, to play with that band behind you.
Tracy Richardson trying to pick up some licks from Donnie, huh?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, he was a big fan of Tracy, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Well, we're glad that everybody joined us tonight. That's awesome. And thank you for the comments. And if y'all, anybody has a question for Doyle or for me, go ahead and leave it in the comment section over there, and we'll see if we can answer your question.
Hey, just while you're looking at them, I was going to say, ain't it, I'm so grateful, years ago, I guess I've been on Facebook now, I'm thinking about 10, 11 years now. And, because I've been off the road for so long. But when Facebook come out, I got to reconnect with all these friends. I've been in their homes to eat, been on their concert stages. And, man, I just love it, reconnecting with all my old friends on here, man.
Oh, yeah. Facebook's not perfect, but But I tell you what, it has reunited me with a bunch of people too,
I'm telling you,
and
man.
a bunch of pastors. So
Yep,
I book most of my dates from Facebook. That's how
absolutely. And
that's
and
how I
we
do it.
and we're ready for the Bobby Bowen family to come back to Jacksonville too.
Hey man, I'm ready to come down there. I'm ready to get to Florida.
We
Love
loved it, man. Our
Florida.
church loved your family, buddy.
I tell you, our daughter Grace is in the wheelchair.
Yeah.
When we ask her what's her favorite state to sing in, it's always Florida. She loves Florida, and then Texas comes in second, and then Tennessee comes in third. So,
Well, don't forget me when y'all get ready to come to Florida.
I'll definitely let you know. Donnie says, give Randy Gross and Trey Starnes solid. I guess it means they're solid players. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they are great players.
Yeah. Hadn't seen Randy in a number of years.
You know, I haven't either. I was in Pensacola for Daddy Paul's funeral when Daddy Paul passed away, and Randy lives in Pensacola. Randy Gross lives in Pensacola, and I talked to him a couple weeks before, and it was one of those trips where I had to get over there and help with the funeral, and had to get right back. I didn't have time, but I plan on going back over there to see Miss Billy.
Well, Doyle's phone has frozen up. Hopefully he'll be back on here in just a minute. But we do have some comments from everybody, and hopefully Doyle will be back with us in just a second. Donnie said, give Randy Gross and Trey Starnes. He meant to say credit. Yeah, they're great players. Eric Emberman says, one of these days, Doyle, I'll get to make you some of my homemade pizza. Bobby can vouch for my pizza, and I sure can. I can vouch for the pizza because it's really, really good. Old Eric knows how to make it. He ought to open him up a pizza shop. What he ought to do. Sally Wooten, I will tell Gracie, don't forget Michigan. No, we won't. We're going to be in Michigan this weekend. We're going to be in Dowagiac on Sunday morning this weekend and this Sunday. And, well, let's see if Doyle's going to come back. I see it. I think I hear him. Brother Doyle, there you are. Are you there? Can you hear me? Hello, Brother Doyle. This is live, so this is unedited. I can't say it. Are you there, Brother Doyle? Can you hear me?
Are we back on?
You're back on, man. Can you hear me?
Thank goodness. Yeah, we had a little lightning. We lost power there for just a minute, so I guess everything had to reboot.
Goodness. Y'all got a storm down there?
Yeah, we've been having thunderstorms about every evening.
Oh man. Wow. Well, I read a comment by Eric Emmerman just a second ago. He said one of these days that he will make you some of his homemade pizza.
Well, tell him I'm licking my lips already.
It is good. I've been to his house and he's made it for me. So it is very good. I told him he should have opened up a pizza shop. Let's see. Vonnie Strickland Cowart says, Bobby, we are having some storms right now in Jacksonville. Yeah, you're having some storms. But Sally Wooten, I will send you that information about what church we're in Michigan this weekend as soon as we get out here with Doyle. But let's get back to Doyle. And so how did you get the job with the Dixie Echoes? How did that come about?
How'd I get the job with the Dixie Echoes?
Yes.
We were working a date with the Dixie Echoes in Clinton, Tennessee, at one of McCamey's homecoming sings there in Clinton at Anderson County High School. And Randy heard me sing that night, and he called me backstage, and he said, "Hey, I might be looking for somebody if you'd be interested here in next month or two." I said, "Well, I'd consider it." And so he got my number, and their homecoming singing, if I'm not mistaken, was always in June. Well, September, we was in Nashville at the Quartet Convention. He called me and said, let me get your number again. I lost your number. I said, I think I'll call you here in just a couple of weeks. And sure enough, he called me, and I went down and rode the bus with him for a week. At that time, it was just me and Randy and Jimmy Fulbright. I don't know if you remember Jimmy Fulbright.
Yeah, I do.
It was just us three. Rode the bus that weekend, and then they offered me the job. And so I went back and turned my notice in and spent the next 6 years traveling on the bus with old Randy and Scoot, Daddy Paul, Mike Bullock.
Yeah.
So had some good times, man. Had some good times.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I guess you got to meet Dale Shelnup before, didn't you? I guess they're still having trouble down there in Jacksonville. We may have to do this again when he gets a better signal. The storms are kind of messing things up right now. But as soon as he comes back on, Donnie, I'm going to ask him what you wanted me to ask him here in just a second. Hopefully he'll be back. But if not, then we'll have to just reschedule this for another time and do it again. But I'm glad everybody's on here and participating and asking questions and making comments. That's pretty awesome. So hopefully Doyle will be back in just a second. But I'd appreciate y'all if y'all can still hear me out there. If you haven't already, follow me on my Bobby Bowen Show page. And I showed everybody how to invite your friends to follow my page. You just go to the page, and to the right of the page, you'll see 3 little dots. Yeah, I think we just lost Doyle. You'll see 3 little dots. He's coming back. Here he is.
It's going crazy, man.
Yeah. I told everybody that maybe we might have to reschedule when there's not a storm going on, because it's kind of messing things up, isn't it?
Yeah.
Donnie wanted me to ask you to tell a story when we were playing a fair and the lights were hung low. Jeremy bought some kind of spray that makes your hair look thicker. One of his favorite stories, Donnie. I can imagine.
Jeremy. What used to tickle me all the time, because poor old Jeremy just didn't have no hair.
He didn't.
And Randy Gross had the thickest hair for a guy I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
And we'd get on the bus at night, and Jeremy was so envious. He was sitting running his fingers through Randy's hair.
I'm surprised he didn't sneak up while he was sleeping and cut some off and glue it to his head.
It was so funny.
So what happened that night?
I'm trying to remember that story. Tell Donnie he needs to share that story with me again.
Yeah, we may have to get him on here with us, third party.
I tell you what did happen one night, and Donnie probably remember this. And I remember we pulled up. Jesse wasn't even with us. We went with a trip without Jesse, and I want to say it was up around Gainesville, Georgia. We wasn't far from Dalton, but they wanted us to sing. And when we got there, I guess it was a little primitive Baptist church or something. And we got in, and Donnie was carrying his drums in. That preacher seen him drums, and he said, no drums in this church. I looked, and we had almost all the gear in there.
Yeah.
And I said, "You're kidding me." He said, "No, sir, we don't allow drums in the church." I looked at the fellas and I said, "Put it all back on the bus. We're gone." He said, "You can't leave the church. We got people coming." I said, "If we're going to sing, them drums going to be behind us."
Yeah.
So he allowed us to put them back and put them in.
Wow. That's pretty cool. Pastors can be kind of ruthless sometimes.
Oh my goodness!
I
try to accommodate everybody, man.
I know you're not that way. You're great. But I remember when I was with Mid-South, we were singing at some kind of pastors convention or something. There was a bunch of pastors there. And when we got through singing, we were standing at the record table, and they were all coming by and shaking our hands and telling us how much they enjoyed it. We want to have you in our church, that kind of thing, Well, this one guy, he must have weighed about 450 pounds. And he walked up to me and he said, "Brother, the Lord told me that if you'd cut your hair, he'd bless your ministry."
Oh, my Lord.
And what I wanted to say, The Lord told me if you lose about 200 pounds, He bless your ministry. but I didn't say anything. I just said, "Thank you, sir." Just went on my way. But because I figured if I'd said something like that, Robbie probably would have fired me.
Yeah. Hey, I'll tell you good. When we were in Battle Creek, Michigan, some church in Battle Creek, and it's a pretty good sized church. I'm guessing we probably had 300 people. This one was with the Dixie Echoes.
Yeah.
And he told us when we got there, they love gospel music. He said, now I know this is going to sound strange, but we don't allow clapping in our church. Randy kind of looked at him and said, "Really? No, we don't believe in clapping. You know, we'll say amen, but we don't clap." Okay. Randy kicked off one of them barn burners.
Yeah.
And I'm at this time I'm playing the bass for Randy. Okay. And I'm watching this preacher. He's on front row. Son, his foot started tapping.
Uh-oh.
And we got back up doing one of them power courses towards the end of that song. He jumps up and turns around to his congregation and says, "Go ahead and clap. I don't care."
Man, that's awesome.
It was
transformation.
Everybody's about to die laughing.
Don't you hate it when you're at a church and you're singing a fast song or something like that? You got this big high ending, and you end it, and it's just dead silence. There's no clapping or anything.
Yes, sir, boy.
Man, I tell that story about how that happens to us sometimes, and when you get through the song, it's dead silence, and you might hear some old guy in the back row say, "Amen." That's all you get.
Hey, Vince will tell them stories. The folks will love this.
Go ahead.
We were in Lineville, Alabama, and I'm not joking. I think our bus was longer than the church. With Dixie Echoes. The church was literally would probably seat 100, 125 people. So they had them standing around the walls. They was in the choir loft behind us. So Randy said, put some chairs on the stage. We'll sing down there where the communion table's at. They moved the communion table.
Yeah.
And we sung down there. And about the third or fourth song in, I'm looking out straight ahead. Daddy Paul's standing right beside of me. And people start standing up. Well, this guy was sitting on the outside where he's right inside the aisle. His wife's sitting beside him. When he starts to leg up, he starts losing his balance, starts just falling over in the aisle. His wife grabs him, pulls him in, and his peg leg fell out of his pants.
Oh, no.
Just real quick, I looked over Daddy Paul. I said, he didn't have a leg to stand on. Daddy Paul put his guitar down and walked outside the door.
Couldn't sing another lick after that.
Randy looked at the preacher and said, "Go ahead and take you off for now." That's my favorite story of Dixie Echoes.
That's awesome, man. I guess Donnie probably told you some stories about our adventures, when he was with us, and different things.
Oh, yes.
Did he bring hanging to the Trailblazers as well?
Oh, Lord, yes.
Him and Jeremy got, probably went overboard with that.
Oh, yes. It was crazy.
But we were singing at some auditorium. We were doing a Feed the Children tour with Jeff and Sherry. And it was in Kentucky somewhere, I think. And we were singing "That's My Child." Real slow, somber song, And all of a sudden, there's this commotion going out in the middle of the auditorium, and people are screaming and everything. I thought somebody was getting happy, I thought they're getting happy on this song. It's not really a happy song, but anyway, what had happened was there was this family sitting there, and their dad or grandpa, he was probably 80 years old. He was kicked back in his chair, and he was dead. I don't know if he was dead, but he was close to being dead. His leaned back, his mouth was open, and they started screaming, "Daddy's dead! Daddy's dead!" And Donnie jumps off the drums and runs down there toward them like he's gonna do something, like he's gonna give him mouth to mouth or something. I don't know why he did that. Hey man, he just that was his first instinct, was just to jump off the drums and run down there and see what he could do. But they called the paramedics in, and they revived him, and he came back, and they took him out and we finished the concert. But man, that's kind of a downer there at the concert. Somebody
Boy, I need
killing
to tell
over
you,
on you.
boy, that'll take wind out of your sails right there real quick.
I guess my singing must have just killed him. I don't know.
Y'all was wearing it out.
We were, man. We've had people faint, not because it was like we were Elvis or the Beatles. It's just you got real hot in the room. It was a real stuffy room and full of people. And this girl right in front of me, we were standing on the floor in front of the communion tables too that one time, and she was sitting right in front of me, and they were standing up clapping, and all of a sudden she just collapsed right there at my feet. And I was like, man, what's going on here? But crazy stuff like that happens. Lots of road stories, that's for sure.
Hey, I got my favorite Randy Shelnutt story. He's quick-witted, man. He can fire back real quick. We were singing in Gadsden, Alabama, at Wallace Hall. And we got there probably about 4 o'clock to go and set up and everything. Well, all of a sudden these guys walk in and they say, hey, we're from a local cable TV here. Can we film this tonight? And Randy said, I don't care. He said, we got a big 3-camera deal and everything. We thought, this is great exposure, And so they immediately got to put a little ad up on their television station and everything. And suddenly we had a crowd, man, come in there. Cool. And it's one of those, Wallace Hall is like a high school auditorium with stairs that come up both sides to get on the platform. And there's a little lady sitting on the front row, big old bun on her hair. And we're about in that serious mode. We're in about 7 or 8 songs in, and all of a sudden I see her coming. I'm playing the bass. I see her coming. She gets up and starts up to one side of the stairs. And so we just finished a song, and she's already worked her way, and she's standing, this close to Randy, right at his ear. And Randy looks at me and says, do a record pitch. So I grabbed the CDs. I'm telling myself now. And so I start doing the record pitch,
Yeah. 8-track
and I'm hearing the conversation. I'm trying to catch what they're saying. And Randy says to her, he says, ma'am, can I help you? And she says, the Lord told me I was supposed to sing with the Dixie Echoes. Randy said,
oh,
did he tell you what to sing with us? She said, no. He said, go sit down. So she walked right back down and sat down in her chair.
That was good.
She wanted to be on TV, brother.
Man. You gotta watch some of these people when they say the Lord told me,
Yeah.
Well, he didn't tell me, so that's cool, man. So I got a couple other people just joined us. Tony Ray Jones is a good friend of mine. He has a recording studio in his home in Goodlettsville, Tennessee. He's a great singer too, great singer and musician, good country voice.
Super.
He was one of my guests on my shows in 2020. I started this in 2020 when the pandemic hit,
Right.
And everybody was shut down. We couldn't travel and couldn't sing in churches. And we did a bunch of Facebook Live stuff from home here in our living room. And
I watched a few.
So I thought I'm just going to start a show where I can invite people in the music business or people that were in the music business, because everybody's got stories about the road and how they got started. And I thought it'd be interesting. And a lot of stuff I had no idea that they started out that way or how they ended up where they are. It's really, really cool. And Tony was one of the guys, was in prison, got saved in prison. He came to Nashville in the 80s and started working at Opryland before they tore Opryland down,
Wow.
Kind of got his start there.
Yep.
And it's built himself up to a real good recording studio. And he learned all the technical side of mixing and mastering and stuff like that. He's doing a really, really good job with the studio. So we're glad to have Tony on. And then there's Shannon Mongo. She's from Virginia. She's an old Mid-South. Well, not old, but she's a Mid-South.
Be careful.
Watch what I say. She's a Mid-South fan from way, way back. Chuck Isaac. You know Chuck Isaac?
I do know Chuck.
Okay. And so Tony Ray says, sounds good, guys. Thanks, Tony. Appreciate that. Thanks for everybody for getting on here and watching this. We really, really appreciate it.
Yes,
and I was
sir.
trying to tell them before you came back how they could invite their friends to follow my Bobby Bowen Show page, because we're going to do a lot more of this, and we'll probably have Doyle back on again since he got kind of cut off there for a while, and we'll get into more stories. But all you got to do is go to my Bobby Bowen Show page, Facebook page, and there's 3 little dots over to the right. You'll see them. It's on your phone and a computer. You click on those 3 dots, and it'll give you a little list of stuff to do. And one of them says invite friends, and you click on that, and you can invite. I think you can invite. I think Facebook will let you invite up to 1,000 in a 24-hour period. If you try to do any more than that, they may restrict you. So don't do any more than that. But we'd appreciate if you do that, because I want to build this page up and get more people watching, and we'll have more guests on. I got a lot more that I'm trying to get lined up, and we'll just keep doing this as long as y'all watch it. And we appreciate you doing it tonight. So, and I appreciate Doyle for being on too.
And I appreciate the invite, Bobby. You know, like I said, I love my years I spent in gospel music, but like I said, I've been pastoring now. Next year will be 30 years.
Yeah.
And pastoring a wonderful church down here at Restoration Baptist Church here in Jacksonville. And if any of these guys are watching, they ever come through, come check us out, man. The Lord's just doing some great things at our church. It's just unbelievable what God's doing right now. Just seeing people saved almost every service now. And God's just really moving, and we're thrilled to death. And but I still, like I said, I still love to sing. I've got 3 solo projects right now. They're up on iTunes, and
awesome.
And I'm still doing some solo work. I've got a big 4th of July event I'm working too, just like you are. Yeah. And on that Saturday, July, what's that? The 1st or 2nd? I think it is. 1st.
Yeah, 2nd is Sunday. Yeah.
Yeah. On the 1st, I'm working a big event here in McClenny, Florida, about 30 miles from Jacksonville. They got some country acts there and some bluegrass, and they said, we want you to do the gospel side. I said, count me in. I'm there.
Cool. Awesome.
Yeah. So we're tickled to death. Still be doing a little bit of singing too, but I appreciate you having me on, man. I always loved you and loved your family and loved the groups you sing with. And you come to Florida, boy, you call us up. We'll get you back at Restoration for sure.
Definitely going to do that. We love y'all too. Speaking of being a pastor, how did you, from going from singing in a Southern gospel group, how did you end up being a pastor and getting what was your first church?
Well, I was actually traveling even when I was with the Dixie Echoes. I mean, I can take you to the place right here in Jacksonville, Florida in 1979 when I knew God called me to preach, and I said no. I said my dad was a pastor. I just seen what he had to go through. I said no, I don't want none of that. Yeah. And so I run from it until 1992. I just had finished my tour we shut the Trailblazers down, and I went up to Hickson, Tennessee, old Grover Dunn with Crystal Incorporated, had a recording studio, and so I was engineering, running sessions for him, and was happy as a lark doing that. I love studio work, and but man, I couldn't sleep. Every time I laid my head down, Bobby, I see myself in the pulpit. And I wrestled with it. My mother and my wife they already knew what God was doing, and they was praying that God would reveal himself to me. And about 2:00 in the morning one night, living there in Hickson, Tennessee at the time, I said, okay, God, I'm done. I can't take this no more. And so we turned a notice in for Grover there and went to Bible college and started my first church in Kentucky, right there in Pineville, Kentucky, called West Pineville Baptist Church.
Okay.
And that's where my first pastorate started there in 94.
Wow.
So next year I'll be celebrating 30 years in pastorate work. And
that's awesome.
Just amazing, man. God's been faithful, son.
So Restoration Baptist Church is where you're at now.
Yeah.
And y'all just recently moved to a new building.
We've been in this building now about 4 years, and we completely remodeled. When COVID hit, God had blessed us. We had money in the bank. And so I said, let's take advantage of this, because we were doing parking lot church at that time. Yeah. And I said, let's start the renovation. And we remodeled the whole auditorium. We redid all of our fellowship hall. Now, we're actually in the process right now. We've done raised another $50,000. We're doing a whole new children's wing.
Awesome, man.
And man, God's just doing amazing stuff.
That's awesome.
I've got 6 waiting baptism right now. We had 4 saved this past Sunday.
That's great, man.
Man, God's just moving. It's just unbelievable.
I love hearing stuff like that.
Yeah, me too, brother.
That is awesome. It's a beautiful church too. We sang there this past year.
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful building, beautiful church.
Great man, people. We appreciate it.
Yeah, can't wait to come back.
We're looking forward to it, son. Love your family, man.
We love you too. And I appreciate you being on with me tonight. And I appreciate everybody that tuned in and all the comments that were made. It really make me feel good that y'all would do that tonight. And what a great guy old Doyle is. Doyle.
That's it, brother.
Doyle.
Yeah, believe me, I've heard them all.
I bet you. What's your full name, by the way?
Doyle Lynn, Lynn.
Lynn's a little easier for me to say.
Yeah.
Lynn Harper.
Well, if I'm gonna be Lynn, I'm gonna copy Lynn Epperson. Shame on the devil.
There you go. Man, it's good talking with you, and appreciate you being on, like I said. And let's do it again.
All right, my brother. Listen, love you, man. Praying for you, good, and you guys and your family and your ministry.
Love you too, man. And I can't wait to see you again.
All right, buddy. We'll talk to you later.
All right. God bless you. Bye-bye.